and we have takes. Welcome to Football Takes. Football! Yeah! Football!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Football Takes, a Thor's Hammer edition of Football Takes. On this episode, me and my co-host Robbie Rosenhaus are going to go through three of our favorite bets on the board for this coming weekend. Plus, all my picks are going to be this weekend, and Robbie, I believe, has three NFL picks all on Sunday. So we'll hop into it here in a second. But Robbie, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, Thor. And again, Army covered against Navy. Washington blew out Boise State. And Thor is 2-0 right now with Delaware pending as we tape this episode on Wednesday afternoon. So Thor came at you with three college plays last week. He's 2-0 with one pending. I came at you with three NFL plays. Unfortunately, went 1-2 with the Jaguars winning, but the Pats ended up blowing a 21-0 lead against Buffalo, and the Bengals were never in the game against the Ravens. So 1-2. Thor goes 2-0, and all three of Thor's hammers for the week are on Friday, and we'll get to the first one of those in just a moment, right after I get to my first NFL game, which is actually Saturday, Thor. You had mentioned all my games on Sunday. Actually, the first game is going to be on Saturday. We mentioned this in Monday's episode with the Packers and the Bears and how we both like the Bears in this game. I'm not going to bury the lead any further. I mean, Green Bay's lost at Denver in Week 15. I mean, they lost a lot of guys due to injury. It wasn't just Micah Parsons. Josh Wiley went out, Zach Tom, Christian Watson left the game, who's slowly turning into their number one receiver. Evan Williams also exited the game with an ailment, the safety. So short week, second straight road game. Chicago defense leads the league in takeaways. They're going to need the game to have any chance to win the division. The trends scream Packers. I mean, they're 9-1 their last 10 at Soldier Field, but it doesn't make sense when it comes to the numbers. The Bears defense is playing really, really well right now, and the offensive line did a good job last week, or a good enough job against Myles Garrett and that bunch to hold the Browns into a non-competitive game. I think they have all the motivation to come out on top in the biggest game in this Johnson-Williams era. So what's your thoughts on Packers-Bears here, as I'm going to lay down the hammer with the Bears +1 at home to get the outright victory?
I love that. I feel like the Bears probably should be this small favorite. And we were a little bit surprised on Monday's line look-ahead show with where that spread was. And apparently the market hasn't, they haven't thrown the support behind the Bears, at least early week so far, despite all those injuries that you just mentioned. It's a Packer defense, same defense without Parsons. And that's just him. If some of those other guys missed the game as well. But yeah, this seems like a really good spot for the Bears to make a statement here against the Packers.
All right, yeah. So the Bears over the Packers is NFL play number one for me. And as we go over to the college gridiron for Thor's first hammer of the week, we go to the Myrtle Beach Bowl, where Kennesaw State will take on Western Michigan. Kennesaw State went from 2-10 to 10-3 this year, Thor, and a conference crown. Western Michigan 9-4. Featured an 0-3 start this year, so both teams coming into this game quite on fire. The Broncos are installed as a 3.5-point favorite, so which way are you leaning in this early kickoff in Conway, South Carolina?
I like the under between Kennesaw and Western Michigan. 48.5 is that line. I'm going to stay away from this side. I do have a lean towards Western Michigan on the side. Western Michigan's a 3.5-point favorite. My system has Western Michigan as about a point favorite, but I think this is a really good matchup for Western Michigan. But between those factors, I'm going to stay out of that and just bet the under on this game. Both these teams are more or less intact, avoided injuries, avoided opt-outs. There is a watch on Western Michigan. They have a star defensive end, team's best defender, that he might. There's a suspicion, but that's it on both sides. The rest of the rosters are clean. But for me here, you have a situation here with this matchup where Western Michigan's one of the run heaviest teams in all the nation. They just have a paint dry type offense. They want to get 3 yards on the ground every time the game's close, or certainly if they have a lead, they're even happy to punt it back to you if you can stop them. They're not going to do anything interesting through the air. Literally just going to keep it on the ground the whole time. Their quarterback runs around as well. So that's what they do. And then Kennesaw's offense, it's also run leaning. But their run offense is not as good, Kennesaw. What they're good at is generating explosive passing plays. So they get defenses to start cheating up on them, and then they throw it over their head, and that's how they generate points. Because Kennesaw not efficient as an offense, not good in the red zone. The issue here for Kennesaw in this matchup is Western Michigan has one of the best pass defenses in the G5, and they're one of the best in the G5 at taking away explosive plays. You're not going to hit explosive passes on Western Michigan's defense. So therefore, that tenet of Kennesaw State's offense, which has led to most of their points, is not available to them here. All Kennesaw State can do is use their mediocre running offense and hope to slowly matriculate down the field, which is the same thing that Western Michigan spends every game doing. Think about it in your head. You're going to have very few passing yards in this game. You're going to have a running clock with both teams keeping the ball on the ground, and they need to get up near 50 to go over this total. I don't see it. I love the under of this game. Like I said, I would lean Western Michigan as well, but I think the under is the play here because of the constitution of this matchup.
Yeah, it seems like Western Michigan with an 8-1 run to close out the season, really tightening things up on the defensive side of the ball. And like you said, installed as a slight favorite in the game. And Thor's hammer, the first one on the college side, goes to the under. Back to the NFL for my second play of the week. And how much better is Patrick Mahomes than Gardner Minshew? It's about 8 points, according to Vegas. That's how much the point spread shifted on Sunday's Chiefs-Titans game after Mahomes suffered a torn ACL, leaving Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback. Prior to Mahomes' injury, the look-ahead line on this game, Thor, was Chiefs by 11.5. After the injury, it dropped all the way down to 3.5. The Titans have shown signs of life in some of these games. The Charger game at home that went back and forth, the Cardinal game on the road, they almost came back, and the Niners game last week, they fought a little bit. They come to mind. And they do okay against the spread. They're 500 this year against the spread relative to their overall record. They're getting 3.5 points this week at home against the Chief team that is basically, if you looked up in Webster's dictionary, on the ropes. This is where the Kansas City Chiefs are right now. Look at Mahomes, not there. Kelsey's on his last legs, if not one leg. And the rest of the team basically is veteran laden, and they know that this is the end of this run, of this iteration of the Chiefs. And I think this week, going against a bad opponent, you're going to have guys with their eyes on January and warmer destinations. And this Titan team, this is their Super Bowl. I like the Titans outright, but I'm not going to go so far as to say that. I think it'll be a close game. Titans plus 3.5. Make sure you get that half. Thor, your thoughts on Chiefs, Titans, and just an overall kind of view on the Chiefs dynasty as it kind of comes to an end here, sudden, abrupt end, if we're being honest.
I love it. It's just crazy enough that it can work. You know, I mean the Chiefs, they seem, you know, especially after the Mahomes thing, they were already kind of limping towards the finish line anyway, and it seems like maybe they understand that tanking it down the stretch maybe is the better course of action for that franchise. I'm not sure how motivated they are to come in and win this game. Their playoff hopes are over, whereas the Titans are still actively, badly trying, which is a stark difference there. And you have an opportunity here to ambush a team that has been a dynasty in recent years. I think the Titans take the opportunity as well to get that thing done. I mean, I think they'll upset the Chiefs, you know, and you know, any bets like that with the small underdogs in the NFL, you know, I do this in college too, but you know, betting the spread on both sides, but I break it where then I'll, you know, a unit, whatever, maybe 0.3 of that unit goes on the money line or 0.25 and you do the 0.75 on the spread. But I also love in these scenarios where you like two small underdogs, parlaying them together. You could get some nice juice on that with those two teams in the same way where my game, you know, I mentioned, you know, my pick is the under on WMU and Kennesaw. Of course, I already have a ticket on a parlay of the under and the WMU money line, right? But in this case, you know, tossing a little extra on the money line parlays of those two would be interesting too.
Yeah, and speaking of my two, I mean, the Bears and Titans are slight underdogs, so that would fit your formula to a T. Two slight underdogs and home underdogs to boot. So if that's not blinking red lights there to perhaps parlay the Bears and the Titans, boy, if you told me before the season started that I'd be parlaying the Bears and the Titans this late in the season, I need definitely a reel of exactly what I've missed, because not exactly, especially against these two opponents, if you're looking at the Packers and the Chiefs, who we thought coming into the season would be two of the stronger teams in the league. So Bears and Titans, my first two plays. Thor likes the under in Western Michigan against Kennesaw. And next we head to the Gasparilla Bowl as an 8-4 Memphis Tiger squad takes on the 7-5 NC State Wolfpack in a matchup perhaps more suited for the Sweet 16 in March. Give the listeners which one of these sides you like, or perhaps the total again in this game, as NC State comes in as a 4.5-point favorite.
I'm going to take Memphis plus 4.5. This line was at 6 as recently as a couple days ago. Was on Memphis at plus 6. Happy to be on Memphis at plus 4.5. I think Memphis is going to win this game outright. My spread on this game is Memphis minus 1.1 points. I think that they're gonna win this game. Wrong team favored. And I think they're one of the best values of ball season as well. Memphis is a really good running team, and most of their roster remains intact here. They're going to be able to move the ball on the ground against NC State's defense. Memphis, 24th in the nation, rush EPA, 22nd in early down EPA. NC State's defense is 53rd in rush EPA, 83rd in early down EPA. NC State doesn't have a good pass defense either. Memphis had a dynamic offense, and you can move the ball in NC State in all kinds of ways. NC State, their passing offense is going to have some success against a Memphis pass defense that is bad. So I do concede that. But giving me the points here, I expect this thing to be a shootout. And sure, it could go either way. I prefer the Memphis side. I think that they have more talent. They certainly have more motivation. And the coaching staff, Memphis is left. NC State's is intact. But the coach that left Memphis, Ryan Silverfield, is the opposite of a tactician. I don't think his absence matters here whatsoever. I don't respect his acumen as a head coach. And on the other side, Dave Doran has been one of the worst bowl coaches that we've had in the postseason in college football over the last decade plus. I don't believe that NC State has won a bowl game since 2017. There's some coaches that go all out to try to win every bowl game. That's how they prepare. There's other ones that use it as a reward at the end of the season, a vacation. Dave Doran is one of those vacation bowl head coaches. Clay Helton's another one. Dana Holgerson used to be one. Got a little group of them, and happy to fade them every single year in bowl season, as I'll be doing to Dave Doran again here. Give me the points with Memphis, and I think Memphis wins this game outright.
Oh, wow. So Memphis Tigers are sprinkling on the Tigers outright, but we'll put them in the books for Thor's Hammer number 2, Memphis plus 4.5. So again, just to recap here on the Thor's Hammers edition of Football Takes, Robbie Rosenhaus here with the great Thor Nystrom. Thor going with the under in Kennesaw State against Western Michigan, and Memphis over NC State plus 4.5. I'm giving you two small NFL underdogs, the Bears at home against the Packers and the Titans at home plus 3.5 over the Chiefs. And now we go to my third and final play of this week, hoping to turn a 1-2 record last week into 4-2 after 2 weeks. And we go down to Carolina, where the Bucs and Panthers both come in at 7-7, Thor, and they know they control their own destiny after devastating losses in week 15. They face each other in week 16 and 18, the first at Carolina on Sunday, the second in Tampa on January 4th. If one team sweeps the matchups, it's as easy as that. They're going to win the division. If they both finish with the same record, the Bucs are going to win the division, factoring in all the tiebreakers. Now, neither team's playing at a consistently high level that should give itself a confidence that a sweep is certain. The Bucs have lost 2 straight in 5 of their past 6, including inexcusable collapse against the Falcons last week. The Panthers haven't had consecutive wins since mid-October and have lost 4 of their past 7 games. They've lost 2 to the Saints this year and beaten the Rams. Very weird team is Carolina. They also went up to Lambeau and won as well. Now, the Bucs have won 5 in a row, Thor, against Carolina since quarterback Bryce Young was selected number 1 just a couple of years ago, and they've won the past 4 NFC South titles, but I think that comes to an end this year. Carolina's last division title came back in 2015, ending a string of 3 straight. That was the year they went to the Super Bowl and absolutely got worked by Peyton Manning and the Broncos. If you're looking for an unusual advantage, The Panthers are an NFL worst 0-12 as the betting favorites since 2021. But they're not a favorite in this matchup. On Tuesday, they're 3-point underdogs, and all 7 of Carolina's wins this year came as underdogs. And here, as we said on Wednesday, they still sit as 3-point underdogs. Like I said, they beat the Rams at home. They won at Lambeau. I don't trust this Bucs team as far as I can throw them. I definitely don't trust Todd Bowles as far as I can throw them. He did a poor job with the Jets trying to get them into the playoffs with Ryan Fitzpatrick in the last game of the season going up to Buffalo and losing to Rex Ryan, their former coach, about 7 or 8 years ago. And I just don't think much of him as a head coach. I think he's a great defensive coordinator, but I think this is more on Baker Mayfield and a lot of their playmakers than it is on the head coach. Liam Cohen is gone. I know they've had some success this year, but I think the wheels are coming off down in Tampa on that pirate ship. Give me the Panthers outright plus 140 on the money line to beat the Bucs at home. So I'm giving you 3 underdogs this week, 3 home underdogs, Bears, Titans, and Panthers from Robbie Rosenhaus for the 3 NFL plays as we go back to Thor for his 3rd and final college play. And it is the premier matchup of the week, Thor, and it is in Norman, Oklahoma, where the Tide and Sooners were new acquaintances for the 3rd time in just over a year. Both teams have 10 wins. The spread is basically a pick'em. Some places have Alabama a slight 1-point favorite. So who moves on to the semifinals, and which side do you like?
Oklahoma is toggled to a favorite here. I love Oklahoma.
You do?
I made the argument earlier this week. I don't understand why Oklahoma was installed as an underdog in this game. I literally don't get it. On a neutral site, I think Oklahoma probably should be slightly favored. This is not a neutral site game. This is the first round of the college football playoff. It is in Norman. They played this game before, just a couple months ago. That time it was in Tuscaloosa. That's where the University of Alabama plays their game. Oklahoma beat them there. I don't know how the game is going to play out different this time, or how the market expected, again, to install Alabama as the favorite in this game. Alabama's only gone downhill ever since that Oklahoma game. Their defense is solid. It's not great. Oklahoma has the better defense by any metric. Oklahoma also has one of the biggest special teams advantages that you will see of any bowl game in this game. Alabama plays shoddy special teams, and Oklahoma has the Lou Groza winner, Tate Sundell. I'm a Lou Groza Award winner voter. So, Mr. Sundell, if you're watching, I voted for you, sir. Sundell did not miss a kick all season long, including over 50 yards. So that kid's automatic. Oklahoma plays good special teams, and neither of these teams can run. So it all comes down to the passing attack on both sides. I'm starting to trust Oklahoma's passing attack a bit more with John Mateer. Ty Simpson has fallen off a cliff the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks or so. The receiving core with Alabama's banged up. Ryan Williams is not healthy. He has not been as good this year as he was last year, in part because of injuries, and they moved him around. They move him into the slot. Weird stuff going on there, but Alabama's offense has become really janky because of this. If Alabama can't throw, they can't move the ball. And Oklahoma has one of the better pass defenses in the nation, and they get after the quarterback too. So Ty Simpson, who doesn't appear to be fully healthy, certainly doesn't appear to be fully comfortable. You're now going into enemy territory, round 1, primetime, college football playoff, against one of the best pass rushers in the nation. I don't like this one for Alabama. I think Oklahoma drops the hammer on this. The market has justifiably pushed them into favorite status as we now move within 48 hours of kickoff. Boomer Sooner.
Wow. So the Sooners, a big Thor's hammer to close out his 3 college picks for the week. We'll have a future for you in just a moment after I recap here the 6 selections that we've given you on this episode of Football Takes Thor's Hammers. I've gone with 3 NFL plays, the Bears, the Titans, and also the Carolina Panthers. And Thor has gone with the under in the Western Michigan, Kennesaw State, Myrtle Beach Bowl. We have the Gasparilla Bowl with Thor taking the points with the Memphis Tigers. And then he is all over Oklahoma down in Norman as they'll be partying at Brown's afterwards with ice cream and hot dogs as the Sooners get things done, perhaps over Alabama. That spread, before we get to the future, I just want to pick your brain here. that spread confused me also. I mean, thinking about how Oklahoma has dominated them in that stadium, and also, do you think it's just the name brand? Do you think it's just people seeing, oh, it's Cowboys, oh, it's Steelers, oh, it's Alabama, oh, it's Georgia, oh, it's Ohio State? Like Oklahoma's a big name too. Or I couldn't get this one either. I'm very curious, and you kind of explained it there, but just elaborate a little more as to why you think perhaps Alabama was installed as a favorite on the road.
For sure, name brand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. As simple as that. Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Alabama in postseason every year, and Oklahoma, a traditional blue blood, I suppose, but they in recent years certainly it's not been as dominant as Oklahoma. Public perception is it in that one.
And if you remember, I was actually at this game last November.
I remember that
when
your boy.
Yes, when Alabama went to Oklahoma and got steamrolled by Jackson Arnold, who I believe now is at Auburn, or the backup at Auburn.
He's in the transfer portal.
He's in the transfer portal again. He's looking for a new home. Yeah. So think about me seeing him, and I rushed the field, and a state trooper from Oklahoma rushed me, and we'll leave that right there. And from the past to the future, and CFP futures are what Thor's about here as we kind of wrap up this express version, not the local, of Thor's Hammers football takes, giving you a few plays here to try and see if you can gain some profit over the next couple of days. Thor, your CFP future as we kind of wrap up today's episode of Thor's Hammers
is a look into the college football playoff odds boards. I looking through this thing and thinking about the paths that the different teams have to the championship, potentially winning the championship. I've come up with two different teams that I would consider acceptable kind of bets of teams where realistic, I think realistic paths to the championship. And then I have two long shots for you, 25-1 or greater, that at least I'm intrigued by with where the price is. The first one, for the reasonable path to the championship, the bet that I like there is the Oregon Ducks 9-1 to win the championship. You have the first round game. You're the enormous favorite against the G5 team. We all assume they're going to get into the second round, and that your path from there, you look at the bracket. Oregon, you win the first game. You get Texas Tech after that. That thing's on a neutral. That line is going to be if Texas Tech is favored, it's going to be like by a point and a half. It absolutely could be a pick 'em, and depending on how good Oregon looks, they could also be a point or a point and a half favorite. I do not believe that the line will open any wider than that. One of those teams, it's a point and a half at most when that thing opens. That's your second round game, and then after that, if you get into the Final Four, you beat Texas Tech, presumably you have Indiana, unless Indiana gets upset by Oklahoma, is a team obviously that I think is going to beat Alabama. And then you beat, that's your road to the championship game there. I think that is at least manageable. Keep in mind, Oregon already played Indiana, and they gave them a run there for a while. Indiana ended up pulling away late, but that game was back and forth early. Indiana finished, I believe, with a 74% post-game win expectancy. The post-game win margin was more like 4 or something like that. So the game was played out a little bit closer. You have the familiarity, you have the revenge factor with Oregon there, potentially thinking about that semis game ahead. And if you get into the national title game, you have a plus 900 ticket. You've already made your profit because you can hedge off at that point. The other team in this sort of ilk, if I didn't go Oregon, it would be Texas Tech, because you have it's the same thing with the path. It's just, who do you think is going to win between Texas Tech and Oregon? But yeah, my preference obviously being Oregon. And then Robbie, two long shots for you in this field. We don't have like one colossus here, right? I mean, the two teams at the top of the odds boards, Ohio State is plus 215, Indiana's plus 280, and then number 3 is Georgia at plus 550. Ohio State, we've already seen them get beat. Of course, we've seen Georgia get beat too. Indiana certainly is not unbeatable. So to me, this field is open. And like I said, a couple long shots caught my eye. The one that honestly I'm most kind of interested in is Oklahoma at 50-1. The the other P4 teams are 25-1 or lower, right? I mean, that's the highest. Oklahoma is double the odds of any other P4 team. It's more like James Madison and Tulane. They're 70,000 and 80,000. But within the realm of reality, Oklahoma, the long shot. But again, I like Oklahoma to beat Alabama in round one. Then you would take on Indiana on a neutral. Oklahoma has trump cards on defense and special teams. And when John Mateer, their quarterback, is playing to his peak, then the offense gets really dangerous as well. That's when that team would have a puncher's chance against anyone. If Mateer has an off game, of course, they're done. But could Mateer have a couple in a row for them to make? Absolutely. So Oklahoma has more of a puncher's chance, I think. And of course, they could go down in any game. If Mateer's not playing well, their offense totally goes away. So I get trepidation around Oklahoma, but between the defense, between the special teams, and between the fact you do have a quarterback with a very high ceiling, like Oklahoma, there at least as a puncher's chance. That's one. Toss couch change money or toss some beer money on that one. The other one, the path I thought was interesting of a long shot too. Robbie, follow me on this one. And last one here, but Ole Miss at 25-1. And I understand, we just discount Ole Miss because it's like Lane Kiffin's gone and, the whole thing, it was a fiasco. And, then the players were chirping back at Lane and, all this different stuff. And now they have to go out and play a playoff game. But you're thinking about the 25-1 thing. And then Ole Miss, they also are the enormous, around 3 touchdown favorite round one against Tulane. So Ole Miss is going to get presumably the ticket into round two where they would play Georgia, another rematch. I just talked about the one between Indiana and Oregon. Ole Miss, though, they took it even more to Georgia. Arguably, they should have beaten Georgia. Georgia at the very end of that game, Ole Miss, I think, was up 9 or something going into the fourth quarter, and it controlled the whole game. And then Georgia pours it on at the very end.
Collapsed, right, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 17-0 in the fourth quarter for Georgia to pull that thing out. But that thing, I don't know that Georgia deserved to win that game. And Ole Miss matches up very well against Georgia because Georgia's worst thing is their leaky pass defense. And Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin there or not, you got Trinidad Chambliss and they got all kinds of weapons at receiver. And I believe Charlie Weiss Jr., the offensive coordinator, is staying back to call plays in that one. So you have the same play caller there. Ole Miss can fling the ball. That's the way to beat Georgia. That's the second round game. And if Ole Miss were to pull off that upset, now you're in the Final Four, right? And if you have the 25-1 ticket on them or whatever, you can start hedging at that point with the 25-1 ticket. So I thought that was kind of the other interesting long shot. But Robbie, I can't wait to watch the CFP. This is a fascinating playoff field where, again, there's not one team that you can say this team almost assuredly is going to win the title. So I think this is an interesting odds board to potentially shoot a couple different bullets and hopefully, you get to the Final Four, you have a couple teams alive.
I want to throw one more game at you here before we kind of wrap up here, a bonus game that you didn't know I was going to throw at you, but I think it's the most fascinating game of the 4, and that's Miami and Texas A&M. A lot of pro prospects on both sides, and obviously high-profile quarterbacks on both sides, especially with Carson Beck. Both teams have played some really tremendous football at times this year. I mean, I've turned both of these teams on where they've just poured it on against some really bad opponents. I remember watching A&M against Arkansas just go up and down the field against them, and Miami against some of these teams. I mean, Pittsburgh is not a bad football team, and they had their way with them just a couple of weeks ago. So A&M is just about, I believe, about a field goal, 3.5-point favorite. So just a little bonus snippet here before we say goodbye and I recap what we've given the listeners so far, preview into your mind on Miami A&M.
I have some strong thoughts, and I have a strong bet on that game.
Oh, you do?
Unfortunately, the audience going to have to wait until Saturday, the live show. I appreciate the
Oh,
opportunity.
wow. Okay. Big tease.
Our Bull Extravaganza, second Bull Extravaganza episode that we have had on Score North. That's on the Football Takes channel, that we're on right now. Live show on Saturday morning begins at 9:30. So we'll be running through with my co-hosts Eric Froton and Mike Bainbridge, just like we did last night, running through all the college football playoff games, and then the games into the next week as well, because our next live show after that isn't until the following Saturday. But we're going to handicap in depth each one of the playoff games. So I'd be remiss if I preempted myself with my pick and my handicap on that one, but I do have strong feelings. And for folks out there, join us 9:30 Saturday morning on this same channel. We will have the live college football bowl extravaganza episode at that time.
And Thor and Froton and Bainbridge and everybody on the show will be giving out props, right, Thor? So you'll have some college props as well. And these guys, I'm telling you, folks, like Thor doesn't want to put himself over, to use a wrestling term, but there is no better trio in the business for the info that you need to attack these bowls than these three gentlemen. So I would tune in Saturday morning and make sure that you get the information just like you're consuming from the two of us today. And we've had some fun today, Thor. I mean, Thor's Hammers College Edition, he gives you the under in the Western Michigan Kennesaw State game. NC State against Memphis, he likes the Memphis Tigers plus the 4.5. And also Oklahoma big over Alabama in the college football playoff. And for the college football futures, also Oklahoma. And do not sleep on Ole Miss, 25 and 50 to 1 to win it all, and perhaps sprinkling there and maybe hedging if they get a couple of victories, as Thor expects them to do. For my NFL games, I gave you 3 home underdogs: Bears, Titans, and the Panthers. So those are the 6 games, Thor. And again, it's been quite a fun episode, and we'll be back with a line look ahead next week and kind of review how our picks did, right?
Yeah, appreciate everyone for joining us. Another edition of Football Takes, the Thor's Hammer edition. We will be back this weekend. Episode will drop, I believe, on Monday. The Line Look Ahead show with me and Robbie going through all of next week's action in the NFL, where I'll be put on the hot seat guessing the lines for the coming weekend. And of course, like I just mentioned, come back to the channel 9:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. We'll be doing the live college football prop show and full handicaps on all the college football playoff games that day, and then the bowl games for the following week with myself, Mike Bainbridge, and Eric Froton. Thanks again, guys, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.